Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. Because today feels like a good day to kind of go ahead and update the way too early top 25 going into next year. So I think everybody knows, but we in the media, I include myself, we do the way too early top 25 every single time the season ends in college football and college basketball too. I do that as well. But I bring it up because normally we're only 2 weeks removed from the season and not all that much changes in most years. But with Nick Saban retired, Alabama has been shaken up. Obviously, Washington, the national runner-up, lost its head coach. Arizona, who I believe is good enough to win the Big 12, lost its head coach in Jed Fish. Plus, there's been all sorts of portal stuff. So it felt like a good time to reset and to just kind of tell you where we are in college football, who's rising, who's falling just a few weeks after the season. First of all, to reset the top 25, let me start by giving you my top 10 coming out of the season. By the way, I promise I'm not going to give you 8 minutes on each team in the top 25. We'll keep this quick. We'll keep it short. We'll keep it to the point. Top 10 coming out of the season was as follows. Georgia was number 1. Michigan, number 2. Bama, well, we thought they had a little guy named Nick Saban coaching them, number 3. Oregon, 4. Texas, 5. Ohio State, 6. Ole Miss, 7. Clemson, 8. Utah, 9. Missouri, 10. Well, as I said, quite a bit has changed as Alabama has a new head coach. It looks like Michigan is going to have its new head coach here soon. They've definitely lost J.J. McCarthy. So let's give you an update on where AT's top 25 is coming out of just 2 weeks removed from the season. Crazy to think, by the way. We're just 2 weeks removed from the season. Number 1. Remember, Georgia was my number 1 to start the preseason. Great team, whatever. Well, I'm here to tell you, my new number 1, drum roll please, it's the Ohio State Buckeyes. Now listen, what I would say, to me, it feels like Ohio State and Georgia are 1 and 1A, and you can go in either order that you want. If you want to put Georgia at number 1, just based on the history, if you want to go Georgia number 1 because you don't trust Ryan Day, that's fine. What I'm here to tell you, at least in terms of frontline talent, Ohio State is so stacked, and they are my number 1 team in the country next year. Now, as you know, I've been a guy that questions Ryan Day, and I've actually been a guy that questioned the quarterback portal decision of bringing in Will Howard, the transfer from Kansas State. But at the same time, if Will Howard's even half decent, the talent around him is going to be so good that it doesn't freaking matter. Do you understand how much talent Ohio State has? Okay, and by the way, we've talked about a lot of this, so I'm not going to spend like 11 minutes telling you who all their guys are. But really quickly, Emeka Egbuka, their second leading receiver, decides to come back after this past season. He came into this past season projected as a first-round pick. He was injured, but 2 years ago, he had like 85 catches, okay? This was a first-round talent, got hurt. He's coming back. On top of that, Carnell Tate, number 1 wide receiver in last year's recruiting class, the 2023 recruiting class. He's coming in. He's expected to emerge, etc. They also have another 5-star named Brandon Inniss, another 5-star. Figure it out, whatever. Also worth noting, Jeremiah Smith, the number 1 recruit in the 2024 class, true freshman, next year, wide receiver. He's coming to Ohio State. So you just, the receiver room is by far the best in the country. Like, there's nothing even close, okay? On top of that, your leading rusher, Travion Henderson, is coming back, and Quinshon Judkins, who was the best player in the portal on the offensive side of the football. 2,500 yards rushing in 2 seasons at Ole Miss. He's coming in. So to keep in mind, leading rusher, best running back in the portal. Second leading receiver is coming back, plus 3 5-stars behind him as well. That's on offense. On defense, you got Caleb Downs spearheading, really the only major addition to the defense. But remember, the defense was top 5 in the country, and they return a bunch of guys that could have been in the NFL draft had they chosen to leave. JT Tuimoloau, former 5-star, could have been a first-round pick. Denzel Burke, cornerback, probably a second round pick. Jack Sawyer, probably a second round pick, maybe fringe first. All these guys are coming back. Now you add Caleb Downs, a future top 10 pick from Alabama. Ohio State is my number one team going into next year. Number two, Georgia Bulldogs. Really, you look at them, nothing has really changed since the offseason began. Other than that, the only thing that's even resembling a thorn in their side the last few years, that's Nick Saban. Oh, he announced his retirement. So Nick Saban's gone. To me, Georgia is the clear class of the SEC, although ironically, maybe one of the new teams will be interesting there. But there isn't much to share here. It is who they were coming out of that Orange Bowl. Carson Beck is back. O-line's deep. Defense is going to be phenomenal. That's the thing with the defense, right? Is the defense, kind of a blend of emerging stars, young stars, veterans. Smile Munden was a projected first day pick this year. He's coming back after kind of some injuries and stuff. CJ Allen coming in, stepped up big last year. I could go on and on. We know how good Georgia is. You want me to tell you how good Georgia is? I'll tell you. Last week, week one, early season point spreads came out in college football. Georgia is actually a field goal favorite at Alabama next year. They play Alabama in September. I bring it up to very simply say, if you're favored at Bama, I'm sorry, you're stacked. Georgia is at number two. Number three, maybe where it starts to get a little interesting, I have the Oregon Ducks. Oregon is so good. And I know Dan Lanning hasn't had his big moment. And when is he going to break through? He lost to Washington 3 straight times under Kalen DeBoer. Whatever. What I'm here to tell you, that defense, that team is stacked. Okay. One, bring in Dylan Gabriel, a quarterback. I think he's going to be excellent. The skill position talent around him is phenomenal. Bucky Irving at running back, Tez Johnson, I believe the kid's name is, at wide receiver. So the talent is there on offense. Defense is stacked. And they're going into the Big Ten, I think, with a chance to win it. Now, Ohio State has squatted up. And so because of it, it's hard to say that they deserve to be ranked higher than Ohio State. But you talk about a team that could potentially match or exceed Ohio State in the Big Ten next year. Oregon is it. They are my number 3 team going into next year. Number 4, I have Texas. Listen, Texas, Steve Sarkisian, I give him credit. He was a guy that I did not trust, many of you the same, going into this year. He proved he is building a program. He proved that he has learned from going to the Nick Saban coaching school, and he won the Big 12, and he had a team in the college football playoff, and he had a team that just won at Bama. They bring back Quinn Ewers, their quarterback. Remember, they just added Alabama's leading receiver through the portal, Isaiah Bond, and they have an O-line and a defense that returns a ton. So I have Texas at number 4 behind Oregon, Georgia, and Ohio State. Number 5 is where it starts to get a little bit interesting in my updated top 25. I still have Alabama at number 5. And some of you will sit there and say, new coach, it's not Nick Saban, they lost Caleb Downs, they lost this guy, they lost Caden Proctor, whatever. I'm here to tell you, I really don't care, and I'll tell you why. There's 2 reasons why I still like Bama a ton coming into next year. The first one is they still have the core of last year's team coming back, and I thought it was interesting. Some of the key returnees did an interview with Chris Lowe a few weeks ago. And they said, or a few days ago after the DeBoer hire, and they said, just because Coach Saban is gone, the standard remains the same. And so I bring it up because, yes, it's going to be a new coaching staff. Yes, there's going to be new people in their ears. But Jalen Milroe, Tyler Booker, Jihad Campbell, the star linebacker, they're not going to let that team dip too much. 2, I think you can legitimately argue that the coaching staff across the board is an upgrade over last year. Now, you're not replacing the GOAT. You're not replacing the greatest to ever do it, Nick Saban. But Kalen DeBoer's an elite head coach. Think about how many games that he won with inferior talent this season, including beating Oregon twice, beating Texas, etc. Great game planner, great schemer. I'm not X's and O's guy, but he always has his team ready to play. Kane Womack, the defensive coordinator's a stud. You just go on and on down the list. Ryan Grubb, etc. So I like this team. And my last thought is this. Everyone says, oh, how is Jalen Milroe going to handle the transition? And I get it, right? Jalen Milroe doesn't look like Michael Penix, doesn't fit the mold. Michael Penix is a pocket passer, whatever. I bring it up to very simply say that while they appear to be very different quarterbacks on paper, keep this in mind. I haven't heard anybody make this point, so make sure you get your pen and paper and you listen to Torres. Michael Penix, in his final season in Indiana, completed 53% of his passes. The year before, 56% of his passes. The year before that, by the way, was 68%, and that was when Kalen DeBoer was his head coach. But 53 and 56% in the 2 seasons without Kalen DeBoer. I bring it up because this year, I don't know how many people realize this, Jalen Milroe completed 66% of his passes. It's not elite. It's not Tua. It's not Bryce Young. But it's better. Kalen DeBoer will start from a better place with Jalen Milroe than he did with Michael Penix. Now, Michael Penix is great, but like a lot of Michael Penix's credit goes to Kalen DeBoer. So I have Bama at number 5. Number 6 after Bama, that's where I have Michigan. And I'll keep Michigan there for a couple reasons. One, it seems pretty obvious to me that Michigan is just going to hire Sharon Moore to replace Jim Harbaugh. They'd be crazy at this point to do anything other than that. I know there's been whispers about Brian Kelly. It's crazy. Think about what just happened at Bama after the GOAT retired and how many good players entered the portal. Well, think about how many players will leave if you don't hire from within and keep that infrastructure in place. Now, Harbaugh could bring a few assistants, but you keep Sharon Moore, you keep most of that roster together. And as I just said with Bama, I don't think the standard changes at Alabama, and I don't think the way that they go about approaching things at Michigan does as well. Now, listen, they're not going to be as talented as Ohio State. They're not going to be as talented as Oregon, who they play in the regular season. But do I think they'll be really good? I do. Obviously, the big question will be at quarterback. J.J. McCarthy is gone. Alex Orji is the kid's name, who is projected to replace him. We'll see if he's the guy, if they bring in somebody else through the portal. But to me, the standard doesn't change. It's going to be hard to replace Jim Harbaugh if and when he leaves, but they're still going to be really good. Now, if he does come back, there's an interesting conversation about moving them higher, but I have Michigan at number 6. Rest of my top 10, number 7, the Ole Miss Rebels. Listen, we've talked a lot about Ole Miss this offseason, but Jackson Dart, 30-year starter at quarterback, is coming back. Beyond that, they obviously killed the portal. Walter Nolan's coming in at defensive tackle. A couple other linemen from the SEC. Now, they did lose one of their transfers to Louisville, Tyler Barron, but Ole Miss at number 7, I really like a lot. Number 8, the first ACC team in Clemson. Listen, Clemson's not perfect, but they return a lot off of last year's team. Cade Klubnik is back for his 3rd year in the program. You would hope he makes a leap in year 2 with Garrett Riley. The defense, Barrett Carter, an All-American, is coming back. Worth noting, the wide receiver core should be better. 5-star Bryant Wesco is coming in. So Clemson should be improved. They should be the favorites in the ACC. Speaking of the favorites in Utah, I have at number 9. They are now in the Big 12. Remember that. They bring back Cam Rising, 7th-year senior, missed all of this year with an injury. Defense, run game, O-line is always great. Now you add Cam Rising to that. They were an 8-win team this year. I could see them being even better next year. And number 10, I do have Missouri. Missouri, like Ole Miss, they're not a traditional power in the SEC, but they return a lot of talent from this year's team. Remember, they won 10 games this year. Brady Cook, well, they won 11 when you include the Cotton Bowl, actually. But Brady Cook's back at quarterback. Luther Burden's back at wide receiver. They've upgraded the defense. I like Missouri at number 10. Not going to go through all of my top 25 as far as like a deep dive, but a couple other schools to keep an eye on. First off, number 11, I have Notre Dame. Number 12, I have LSU. Number 13, Miami is an interesting one to me. So I'm actually higher on Miami than most other people. Now look, Mario Cristobal, is he Bill Belichick between the lines? Is he perfect? Is he Mike Tomlin? Is he Sean McVay? Is he Nick Saban? He's not. Didn't even know how to take a knee earlier this year. But that team's stacked. The O-line is really good, one of the best in the country. The skill position guys all return. Defense returns almost intact. And they added Cam Ward, the transfer from Washington State. This was one that kind of fell through the cracks. We didn't really talk about it. But remember, Cam Ward was projected to go to the NFL. He declared for the draft, but never signed with an NFLPA agent, comes back from Washington State. This was one of the most prolific passers in all of college football last year. And so you add him into a team that has no real weaknesses in an interesting season in which the ACC is kind of in that middle ground where Clemson is going to be okay, but whatever. Are they going to be great? We don't know. Florida State loses a ton. I think Miami can mess around, win the ACC, and potentially make the college football playoff. Cam Ward, 3,700 yards, 25 passing touchdowns. I have them at number 13. Number 14 in my poll is Oklahoma. Listen, I like Oklahoma a lot, but they're going to have a welcome to the SEC moment, because think about this schedule for Oklahoma. And this is just an example of how crazy schedules are going to be in this SEC Big Ten new world. Oklahoma's schedule next year includes a home opener against Tennessee, Bama at home, Texas in Dallas where they always play, plus at LSU, at Auburn, at Ole Miss, at Mizzou. So I just listed 3 teams that I have in my top 12 that they have to play on the road at, plus Bama at home, plus Tennessee at home, plus Texas on a neutral. Don't want to spoil it, but that is by my count. 1, 2, because I do have Tennessee in my top 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 of their 12 games against teams in my top 20. Good luck to Oklahoma. Number 15, I have Penn State. Listen, Penn State has all the pieces. Until they do it, I can't get excited about Penn State. It's time to prove something to me. It's time to show me something. Like, there's only so many times that I can, believe in you until you let me down. I also think, by the way, with the way schedules break, Penn State now, it's just much tougher when you add Oregon, Washington, UCLA, and USC to the mix. Number 16, really interesting school, Arizona. I had Arizona, I think, number 12 in my first top 25. Well, obviously, since that came out, they have lost their head coach. Jed Fish went to Washington, and they have lost a few players since he left. But they also brought back Noah Fafita, their star quarterback, completed 74% of his passes. Tetairoa McMillan, 90 catches, 1,400 yards last season. I believe he's like a first-round NFL draft pick next year. So most of the core has come back. Most of those guys believe in themselves. Now it's time to see if they can deliver under new head coach Brent Brennan. If Brent Brennan, listen, I don't know much about Brent Brennan other than, what I've read. I've never met him, never really been around him. If he just does, just hand the keys to Noah Fafita and let him go from there. I think Arizona could potentially mess around and win the Big 12. Got to keep that infrastructure in place that Jed Fish put in place. I do have Arizona in my updated top 25 at 16. 17, I have Tennessee. Listen, I like Tennessee. Nico is really freaking good. Nico was awesome in that bowl game against Iowa. Obviously, look, can he do it over 12 games in the SEC? Tennessee, of course, because they're Tennessee. How about next year? They still have Georgia and Bama on the schedule. Bama at home, Georgia on the road. So it doesn't get any easier. I just mentioned they play at Oklahoma as well. 18, Oklahoma State. 19, USC. I think USC is one that I'm buying a little bit more than other people. Listen, Lincoln Riley didn't forget how to coach overnight. And I do think Caleb Williams was at least partially responsible for some of their struggles this year. Now, the defense was terrible. We all know that. But I just bring it up because part of it was on Caleb Williams too. Trying to be a Superman, trying to do too much, trying to be a hero, blah, 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 blah. I don't know that, they're going to be as bad as people think. I think people think, oh, Lincoln Riley's terrible, whatever. The defense is going to be improved. They spent a ton of money on that staff. They're going to get the defense right. And I think once they get the defense right, the offense doesn't have to be great every single night. I actually kind of think USC is a little bit better than people think. Problem, of course, is they're going to the Big Ten where they have I think they miss Ohio State, but they have Penn State at home, USC or Michigan on the road, among others. Beyond that, I have Florida State at number 20. Listen, they lose a ton. We'll see what happens. Iowa, very advantageous schedule next year. They do not play Michigan, Penn State, Oregon, or USC. They get a watered-down Washington team. They do get Ohio State. That's their toughest game. 22 is A&M. I actually like Texas A&M. Mike Elko is going to be an upgrade. And Texas A&M might be the only team in college or in the SEC. I don't believe they have Bama or Georgia on the schedule next year. That is a huge break for them. 23 Boise, 24 Kansas, and 25. I did keep Jed Fish's new team, the Washington Huskies, in. Listen, I've criticized him. I didn't love the decision. but he's going to put together a decent squad and he will still have a decent infrastructure in place. I have Washington at number 25, but again, my top 25 coming out of this past season. And this is the updated version, of course. I have Ohio State at 1, Georgia at 2, Oregon at 3, Texas at 4, Bama at 5, Michigan at 6, Ole Miss at 7, Clemson at 8. At number 9, I have Utah, and at number 10, I have Missouri. The one that I'm really excited about, I think could be much better than people realize, is the Miami Hurricanes. And by the way, depending on what happens, we may update this thing throughout the winter and spring as well, but that's where things currently stand.